Okay, so I'm here with Jacob Bunney, and he hosted a show called The Cat Show. I don't know if you had a show before that, or because you had a partner originally, then you went solo, and then he was also a key sound guy, did tons of the sound for the station, and then um, anyway, and he also was the one person who was able to figure out that my claim to be narcolepsy was actually out of control diabetes. And so me passing out was probably carb comas and things like that. And so I'm going to ask him about that as well. but
Oh, I brought
anyways,
I brought my pen here for to show solidarity with the diabetic brotherhood.
yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted to mention that. So, okay, good. Yeah, because I was going to say that there was like one occasion, maybe more, where you passed out, and we were wondering what the hell's wrong with this guy. And then
Oh,
then you finally told us, and I was like, oh wow, how does somebody get diabetes? And you're like, you got the because you were skinny, and you had the type you're born with, and I was in incredible denial. I mean, how do you live at in the 320s for over a decade and not get diabetes? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
yeah. Well,
So
I mean, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so you got diagnosed recently, right?
no, okay. So what happened was, um, I was frequently um, having to disappear from the station for a few days at a time and leave things for other people to run, like Johnny or Jake, because I would wind up in the hospital and was clueless about why. Well, geez, why
Mhm.
is this happening? And and uh, the first time I recall being diagnosed, although I was like a bull in a china shop due to the Asperger's and bipolar. Like I did, I tuned out a lot of things in my life, like financial things, especially that I should have paid more attention to. Which partly, we could have run the business better if I was not constantly in a haze about those things. And
Yeah.
anyway, the thing is that I may have been told I was diabetic before, but I don't recall that because the
Mm.
second, but
Did
basically,
you fall asleep while they were telling you?
well, the thing was, the well, yeah, that's funny. No, the thing was that I was told I had sleep apnea, which I did have,
Mm.
and I thought it was, the sleep apnea was really bad. I got it in 2000. I put on 50 pounds in like 4 or 5 months, which is totally bizarre behavior, but I did,
Mm.
and then I kept gaining from there, and I had sleep apnea, and I was told it was because my nose was all messed up. I had broken it as a kid, never got it fixed, so I got it fixed in 2011. We'll get back to the radio in a second here. I got fixed in 2011, and I just thought, oh, it's just my apnea. My body's so used to falling asleep that uh, the surgery just didn't work right or whatever. But in 2015, I wound up in the hospital with a diabetic coma for 24 hours, and then when I woke up, Jake Bowman was there, along with my aunt, who was neither of them had never met before. I don't know how they both wound up in the hospital room.
Yeah.
But the doctor goes, "Are you aware you're diabetic?" I'm like, "No," and I freaked out, and I never had a soda, regular soda, since. And I stopped eating. I never was a big sugar eater, but I ate bad carbs from tons of other things. But
Yeah.
I've never had a dessert of any kind, or candy, tiny bite-sized pieces, a couple times a year. But I've never had a regular soda or uh, uh, um, pastries or whatever ever since that day. And so, like, I quit drinking when I was 28, like cold turkey. I have the discipline when I want to do it.
Mm.
I needed to quit when I was when I was 28, and I just did it. But the thing
Mm.
is, I still went up and down with the diabetes, and I lost 94 pounds at one point because Christina Myers, she I wanted to go out with her. This is all in the movie in my interview with her, so I'm not revealing anything inappropriate. I had a huge crush on her, and I asked her, what would it take to go out with you? And she's like, well, I just don't want to be with somebody who's so unhealthy. And I was like, well, what? I guess we got to lose 100 pounds. And she says, try 50. And I don't know if she really meant it, because I lost 94 and it never went anywhere. But she, like 3 months later, that was on New Year's Eve. We were at
Yeah.
this amazing party at a famous writer named Shane Black's house, and I had taken her to this party and thought, oh, here's my chance, midnight at Shane Black's house, wow. And so anyway, I still didn't act on it, even with that incentive, for 3 months. And then my breaking point to finally try to lose weight was I wound up in the hospital on St. Patrick's Day that year, and I missed out on Bruce Springsteen doing the River tour in LA, and I had $100 ticket that went to waste, and I had two extra tickets in my wallet that my friends, because I passed out and was out again for like 12 hours, nobody knew how to find me, and they almost missed the concert. They were so mad, and I was kicking myself because Bruce Springsteen and the River are my all-time favorite things, and I just was like, fuck this, I'm never gonna, I don't want to live this way anymore. And I joined, she took me 3 days a week. It was amazing. At 6 in the morning, or she'd pick me up at 5:45, and we'd go to a workout group in Culver City. And I
Hmm.
lost 94 pounds in like a year and a half. And then I misunderstood what a nutritionist told me. This is the dumbest thing ever. She said, "Oh, your A1C is below 7. You're out of the woods." And what I should have taken from that is, stay out of the woods. Don't, maintain your behavior. But I thought, in my stupidity and manic behavior, I thought, oh, I'm fine now. And I wound up packing the weight back on, like 80 pounds of it again. And
Hmm.
now I've lost like 50 or 60 pounds. I'm at 270, and I've been sitting here for like a year. And I'm going to join a gym now that I started driving, because my folks, they're old, and they're willing to drive me to work or to doctor's appointments, but they weren't willing to take me to random things like the gym. So anyway, so I'm going to try and finally see what happens if I lose another 50.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually I I got I didn't put on a lot of weight, but it wasn't like good weight. I was able to take it off doing keto.
Oh,
Um
cool.
and, and I still do that. So
Is keto safe for diabetics? Because I've heard about it. I just didn't know.
yeah, it is. One of the benefits for me is that like because it's a low sugar diet, I don't have like the highs and the lows that much.
Uh-huh.
Um, because for a while, I was like in the middle of the night, I was like I would because I would have to take too much insulin to cover all of the sugars that I'd been eating.
Yeah.
Um, I had been like having really low sugars because because I'd just taken too much insulin to try to compensate for all the junk that I had had before I went to sleep.
Yeah.
Uh, so a way to kind of um, get rid of that. Not only that, but like just even during the day, switch to keto. I did right now. I think I'm at like 180, but at one point I got down to like 170.
Huh.
I was able to drop. Yeah, I think when I started doing it, I was like 195. So I was able to drop like 25 pounds in
Wow. Okay.
not too long a period of time. So it's good. Yeah, the only thing is like you don't have to stop doing it. A lot of people do it just for the the quick fix on losing weight, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of benefits to it. Like not having a lot of sugar, it actually makes your mental process clearer, and it like you don't have uh, like remember when you were talking about how you were like passing out all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think part of it was it was or part of it was either you were having high sugars or you were feeling super lethargic from having um come down from a high sugar.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what I was like when I talk like when you said that Johnny O said that I predicted it. Part of it, that was part of the thing that I was like recognizing was that you were probably coming down from being like having like really high sugars sometimes
Uh-huh.
um, as part of why you were passing out. In addition to the fact that sometimes your sugars were probably obscenely high.
Yeah.
So that, and
Well,
also,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was also going to say is also, yeah, when your sugars are messed up, your body doesn't heal well. And I know you were having some trouble with like your feet and other things. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. All that's gone. I mean, but
that's good.
what's crazy is the last thing I'll say before we really get to this is, um, I don't know if I told you, I wound up in the hospital for 8 days. I was out. I wasn't in a hospital for almost 3 years. I was doing pretty good, and I'm not really sure why I managed to, but I did. And then probably the part of losing weight or whatever. And then I wound up in the hospital in September 2019 for 8 days. I almost lost a toe. I was put in a specialty hospital called Rancho Los Amigos in Downey, and
Mm.
I was so lucky that one doctor was they were about to schedule me for surgery, and this one doctor just said, "No, I want to look at that MRI one more time." And she said, "I don't think there is a bone infection." Everyone else thought there was, and so I got lucky. And and then coming home, my dad's a retired doctor, and my mom knows how to cook well, so and she's pre-diabetic and watches what she does. So I've lost weight and turned my A1C. I was at 12.5 when I wound up in the hospital that time,
Well, that's
and
insane. What's so like for that number? That means that you're up in the 300s like all the time, right? For to
probably
be
I don't know,
low,
probably
because yeah, I know that like once anything above 7, I think puts you in over like 140. So because like
I'm
ideally you,
6.4 the last time I checked in November, and I just scheduled another appointment to get checked in May.
well, so that's good. That means yeah, you're in the ideal you're in
Yeah,
the ideal range.
yeah, it's crazy, dude. But I look back and it's weird because on the one hand, my dad says if you had just been diagnosed with bipolar and Asperger's as a kid, your whole life would be different. To me, obviously saying, and but the thing is, he also says he thinks he doesn't quite get what I do. They were always cool. They were fine with me doing all this creative, crazy stuff, but they kind of just stayed out of it. They didn't really understand it, and so to him, he thinks because I wound up broke and coming home that it was all like a mess up. But now he's starting to see finally as I'm doing this project, I've been digging up, tons of photos. I threw them on my wall in case you haven't seen it. You should check out the wall. And and I'm like, look, here's Kevin Costner, here's so and so, here's this, here's that, and he's like, wow, you really did do something cool. And I'm like, yeah. But the thing is, hopefully, by being here, Little Rock, it's like a third of the rent of LA of what I was paying in LA. Like I'm looking at apartments I'm about to move, and there's places easily great ones that are way bigger than what I paid for a studio in LA. I could get
Yeah.
a much bigger place for half the price, even a third of the price, depending on the neighborhood. And so I can still, if I get the right job, which I'm up for a bunch, uh, then I can still, wind up having a good life, thankfully. But if this thing blows up, which we don't know, we're doing it just as a passion thing. I would totally like our dream plan is not just to blow up the website again, but what we're trying to do is I made peace with my original partners who I had an epic falling out with before downtown because one of them
Oh, you're talking
embezzled.
about Jake.
Jake Belcher,
Yeah.
did you know him?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was with you guys when it was on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, I forgot. Okay. Well, he embezzled everything, as you may or may not know,
Yeah.
and and he and we made peace in 2017 because he kept begging through. He had other people run into a coworker of mine, and I mean they would run into him. Not that he had them stalk them, but they kept asking. Jake really wants to talk. Jake really wants to talk, and I was like, no, I don't want to talk to him. But then finally, I got word that he wound up in an ICU with he had diabetes. He wound up in an ICU because he drank like I never was this bad. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. He didn't look as fat as me, but he was up to 350. He said at his worst. I was the worst I ever was 341. I was usually in the 320s, and anyway, he wound up in an ICU because of a potassium problem caused by drinking, like he said he would drink like a dozen Cokes a day, and somehow that messed with his potassium, and he wound up passed out in an ICU. And when he came out of it, he got super determined to kick his diabetes. He never knew about it before, like me, and so he's lost half his body weight. I just look at his page on Facebook today that he took yesterday. It's crazy the picture he took. I mean, he's like a fucking beast, like shape wise, you know. And
Yeah.
so he went from 350 to 180, and he said he hasn't like, you know, become religious or anything, but he like really wanted to, you know, be ethical and apologize for things after that. But I was like,
Or did he
and,
kick the habit? Is it like you know, like a 12-step thing, like making amends? Is that part of it?
well, he didn't join a 12 step. I'm in one, which is a good part of, you know, that's kind of what prompted me to even start interviewing people. And then when I realized how big this was getting, and you know how Bowman is also like a big dreamer, like I am, and he was like, dude, don't waste this on just, you know, casual interviews. Do this really. Let's really do this. And he pushed me last Friday to call Jake Belcher because basically Belcher, I forgave him as far as not being filled with rage in 2017 when I finally met him, and he explained what happened. And I'll leave out. Well, I'll just tell you. I'm saying for myself, leave all this out of the edit. Um, he he had a bunch of issues that were going on with his family at the time that I knew of, and so that's why I believed him and forgave him. But his mom was in a nursing home; they were running out of money to pay for it. The house was in danger of being lost because of payments, and also, and so then meanwhile, here I'm saying, "Hey, you do all the work." You know, during Hollywood, I was not around much. I would just show up for shows and you know hang out on the weekends because I had a job, you know, day job, and so he was doing all this work, and we were taking cash payments from everyone, and he was supposed to walk the rent down the street, and then you know, but he's seeing cash, is desperate for legitimate reasons, and the other part of the issue was he said he wouldn't have stolen it just for that. I'm having an itchy nose, my sneeze, but anyway. And but the bigger problem was that management company was so corrupt that uh, we had a defective door that they put in, as you may recall, with no doorknob and with a crack in the glass so the sound could leak in from elsewhere. And we complained, like 3 months we complained, and they kept ignoring us. And Jake finally said, I'm not paying the rent until you send somebody down here. And they still wouldn't send anybody down there. It was the weirdest thing. And so when Jake got away with not paying 1 month, he said he held on to it for 3 or 4 months and wasn't going to spend anything. He kept thinking someday they're going to come down here and solve this. Well, they didn't, and so then he saw that he had a pile of money. They weren't complaining. Nobody said anything, and he's desperate. So he just started using it to pay for his mom's, you know, medical care and his house. And so anyway, so what was they did put notices, and I remember seeing one once. I go, "What's this?" Why, I thought, and he goes, "Oh, I paid it. That's a mistake," and I threw it out. And then they had given two other notices that he admitted thrown out, but where they screwed up, this is crazy, was they had my phone number, they had my emails. I was the only name on the lease because I used money from my grandma's inheritance to me to help start it, and so the thing was that what was I going to say? Oh, so uh, they didn't call me. They never wrote me, But then one night I come over to do pajama party at 10 o'clock on a Monday, and there's an eviction notice saying 3 days notice to quit or pay, and on the door. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? And this is the worst about him, and I've forgiven it, but still, he was like, I'm assuming you find this interesting, right? Or am I rambling too much?
Oh no, no, go ahead.
Okay, so what happened was that he said we had 3 days to solve this, and the first day he claimed to not know what was going on, and he says, let me reach out to a lawyer, give me 24 hours. And so 24 hours go to waste. Then he said, okay, I talked to them, they're going to come over tomorrow. So second day went to waste. Finally, it was the third day. He doesn't show up for Grand Theft Audio, and I'm sitting there all day waiting for them to come over, but I didn't think to check myself. Finally, at 3:30 on the third day, I walk out to Starbucks because I didn't want him to come in and overhear me. I finally realized something's really wrong here, and I called them from Starbucks. I have my laptop with me, and they're like, and I said, hey, I told them why I was waiting. I said, I thought you guys are coming over. They said, no, we thought you're coming over, or we thought you weren't caring and we're just going to lock you out. And I was like, no, no, no. And I ran out, and this is the most horrible, evil thing ever. I haven't brought it up with him. I'm just remembering it now. But I'm standing on the corner of Hollywood and Vine, getting ready to run to that office, and all of a sudden, I'm just filled with just rage, murderous rage. And I hear him go, it's true. It's true. And I look over, and there's Jake in his sunglasses standing there. And he had actually followed me into Starbucks. He was nearby or whatever, saw me going in, heard me talking, listened behind my back, and then stood out there waiting to gloat about it in a weird way. And I was like, or I don't know if gloating is the right word, but he just stood there calmly saying it's true. And by my point of view about God not shoving it on you, it was the grace of God or angel that kept me from killing him, because I seriously came this close to taking that laptop and just smashing it in his face. And and so I said, you're coming down to the goddamn office with me now. I said, I will kill you if you don't. And so we went down to that office, and to his credit, and the only reason I ever even forgave him 4 years later or now, he took the blame, and he said it was that he had told them I didn't know a thing about the bill not being paid, and and then and so so they said, okay, well then we may sue you, Mr. Belcher, and Mr. Kozlowski, we won't come after you. We won't ruin your credit. And I was like, thank God. But then Jake pulled something awesome to save his ass. And he goes, well, before you do anything, you might want to consider how he started there. And and I don't know if you knew this or not, but this is incredible. We went looking all over LA for office space to begin with, he and I. And there was one day I'll never forget. We actually walked by the block. We could have started there, but there had a big sign. We were in that mall, and they said, there was a big sign saying rent offices with us. But I saw, doormen and guards, and I thought, oh, that's got to be crazy expensive. And so we never even went in. And so the thing was, and so when I decided to restart, I was looking all over, and I stumbled across the block, and I just made a wild call, and they were like crazy affordable rate, like $700 a month or $800 a month. And I thought, ooh, I said, do you have 24-hour security? And they said, yes. And I really didn't put it past Jake to not show up and try to ruin things for me someday. So I picked the block because of 24-hour security. And I told them, I gave a picture and a name, and I said, this guy is never allowed in here, or I sue, or I leave, or whatever. And he never did that. It was just me being extra paranoid. But
Mm.
what saved his ass was he reminded them that the way we picked the Hollywood office was some guy was a real estate agent for that company, the management company. And so he gives us a tour. We like the place, gives us his card, says, I'll cut you a deal. I'll charge you $1,300 for 2.5 months rent. It really should be like $1,800 for that or something, right? And so get this, we pay him. And he said he wants it in cash, which we thought was odd, but whatever. And we never were good about keeping records, but Jake, thank God, insisted on a receipt. So the guy gave him a handwritten receipt. Okay, so 2 months later, I called the management company to ask him, hey, or we were trying to reach the guy and he wasn't answering. And I said, hey, we're a radio station in the office of your building, and your guy isn't answering the phone. We want to make sure we don't get kicked out. Our rent is due in 2 weeks. And so the people go, we don't have a radio station. I'm like, okay, it's internet radio. They're like, no, we don't have anything like that. We don't have anybody on that building. And we're like, what are you talking about? Come on down. I'll show you around. And they're like, what? They said, we're coming right over. It's like 2 people came over and they're furious. And they're like, what is this? We don't know about this. I'm like, we paid and we showed the receipt. And I said, here's a business card, your associate. And they're like, yeah, he does work for us. And then they're going, hang on. And they look around, and the guy had rented out 10 offices to people, all on cash, all without telling them, and all charging at least $1,300. So he made like $13,000 off of scamming them. So the thing was, we said we would offer, if they wouldn't kick us out at the beginning there, we said, we'll help you set up a sting and bust the guy. So we finally reached the guy, and he arranges to meet us. We called them, they called the police. We went to meet the guy, and cops arrested him when we met him. And so Jake brought that up and said, you fucked up. You gave us a shitty door. You never responded to our concerns. You didn't call Carl. You didn't write Carl. That's fucking common sense, to call the person if you're not getting a response at the door of the office. And he said, we saved you at least $13,000 for a month alone, and who knows how much more if this had kept going. And so we owed them like 8,000 or something. And so he goes, so basically, you owe us. And so they thankfully they listened, and Jake got off the hook also. And it's just a crazy story, man. But everything about this is crazy, right?
Yeah, see, well, because that was the place, wasn't it? Like right across the aisle, there was like that
a cannabis place.
Well, no, it wasn't. It was I thought it was like a free clinic. Was there like because there was like always like homeless people like in and out of that place.
Oh yes, in that building, yeah. And we may run out of time, and I'd have to set another meeting up to keep it going. And I'm just letting you know. I'm sorry I talked so long. Yeah, there was okay. So I'm going to start recording this because we should talk about the homeless place. I should have been recording all the. Oh no, it is recording. Okay, good. So I may wind up using some of this anyway. What I was rambling about. So actually, I'll find a better way to tell it. I'll have to narrate it and put pictures, whatever.
I mean, yeah, because we talked there was one time we talked to Jake because we were like, I think that's where I discovered what the smell of smoking heroin was at, because there was like that methadone clinic, or there was some sort of clinic there, like some sort of free clinic there, and there would be, because there was like homeless people there all the time.
Yeah,
like there was always like that, like a weird burnt smell that wasn't like marijuana or cigarettes. There was like a different smell in that I like. You go up the stairs, like right when you walk in, you go upstairs, there was always some weird smell in that walkway.
And weird people would sneak into the building sometimes. Like one time, Jake said he walked into the bathroom early before a Grand Theft Audio episode and saw a guy washing his balls in the sink. And the guy just goes, "What's up?" And so then, and so then, what else? Oh yeah, so there's a legendary episode. There's two things, and then I'll promise I'll shut up and just get your recollections. But these are awesome. The two funniest things that went wrong at that location was Jason Stewart, this gay comic, had a talk show, and he would get pretty good guests because he's a veteran character actor. And he got Lance Bass from NSYNC one time in, and some homeless person was screaming in the hallway on their way to the not methadone clinic. There was I think there was a different place besides methadone that was also for homeless, and this person was yelling in the hallway and just screaming at nothing, and Jason freaks out in the middle of the interview, and he throws open the door while tape is still running, and he's screaming, "If you don't get the fuck out of here, I'm gonna kill you." And Lance Bass is freaking out, going, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And so we're gonna ask Jason about it, and we're gonna ask him to get Lance Bass. We'll see if he does, but we have the audio of it. We're gonna use the audio, and then the funniest thing that I can remember from me, actually, there's two things, but one was I had a woman named Tracy Newman, who was a Emmy-winning writer for Cheers. And she created, according to Jim, the Jim Belushi sitcom. And she's the one who helped us get Jim Belushi a couple years later downtown. And he did A Grown-Ass Men. And anyway, so she's sitting in her chair playing a ukulele because she had retired from TV writing and producing because, according to Jim, made her richer than God. And I got to know her because she was performing at a folk club in Pasadena, and I wrote about her for the paper. She thanked me for the story. Said, "This is my dream career that I wish I could have done, but I couldn't do it, and now I'm doing it for fun. You wrote about me, gave me validation. Can I do you a favor in return?" And I said, "Be a guest on my show on Conversations." So she's sitting there telling these great Hollywood stories, playing a ukulele, like a beautiful little song. And then all of a sudden, if you recall, we always had construction noise. And so all of a sudden I hear a drill, and it goes, and it sounds like it wasn't actually from the wall behind us. It was the nightclub below, was always being renovated. But it sounded like the drill was about to come through the wall behind her and plow right into her head because she was up against the wall with her chair. And she just, this sweet lady just freaks out. "What the fuck is that?" And I was, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry about that. We have a bit of a construction noise problem. And she's like, "Oh my God, oh my God." And she almost ran out. It took everything to calm her down. And I have that on audio, but Jake has the audio. I've lost it. And then the other thing that was kind of funniest, it was this guy named
Bowman.
Belcher has it. Belcher is about to organize. He has everything organized. He claims every episode of Grand Theft Audio, which I had him on an archive that I was paying for until December, and then I hit a depressive. I was really bad in December again because I'm manic depressive, and I was up much of last year. After a couple months, I came home with a mental breakdown, basically, or nervous breakdown. And that's when I got checked out and diagnosed that I'm manic depressive and Asperger's. And Asperger's, you catastrophize problems also. And so, if unless you learn how to cope, which I'm learning in therapy. But the thing is that I worked much of the year on an election campaign for a guy who was briefly a Titan. For like a month, he had a show about law. And so much of the year, I was kicking ass, getting this guy booked on national radio and TV and all this stuff, and I was really up. But then when the election ended and he lost, I didn't have anything going on for like 2 months, and I was starting to, get depressed again. And I thought, "Oh, I'm never going to work again. Nobody's going to want to hire me. I suck. why did I ever do this podcast thing? It's so controversial. And I stopped paying the $16 fee to keep an archive. And it was tons of stuff, not everything, but it was tons of stuff.
Mm.
And so now, thank God Jake has everything from Hollywood and from Grand Theft Audio. And like I said, I sent Johnny 4 hard drives that David Robinson, when I had a computer about to crash 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he got everything onto hard drives, but they're disorganized. And Johnny's going to put it all together. So, but the last thing I was going to say about weird things in Hollywood, I had a guy named Dylan Brody, who's a renowned storyteller, and I was for a while I was big in the storytelling scene, um, and I don't know why I ever stopped, but I was a headliner at lots of shows. I was better at that than stand up by miles, and I stopped doing it at some point. Don't know why, but Dylan was a friend who came in. He's a guest, and I had him on the Cause Effect, and I was taping it on a Friday night, my political show, and I had a very, very conservative woman friend of mine. Like, I'm conservative. This lady's like, you know, fucking Genghis Khan as a woman. And we were talking about abortion for some reason. And she came in late. She was lost. And Dylan's there, some other liberals there. We're talking about abortion for some reason. And I'm anti-abortion, but I'm okay with exceptions. That, rape, incest, mother. I'm not like, insane about it, and I don't hit on women about it if they have them. But she comes in and she goes, "Okay, what are we talking about?" And she's like rabidly anti-abortion. Like, every exception, she doesn't care if you have one. I won't say she hates them, but she's pretty not nice about it. And
Was
so
she
she just starts,
I
huh?
have a question. Was she Catholic or evangelical
Oh
or
yeah,
something?
yeah, Catholic also, but much more than me even, because I'm
Yeah.
Catholic. She prays the rosary like every day, which is like hardcore. And so anyway, so she comes in, she goes, "What's going on, guys?" And I pause everything. I bring up to speed. I say, "Hey, we're talking about abortion," and then I didn't really set the context, and I was letting the guys talk. I always tried to let the other side talk. I mean, I would interject, but I never told somebody you can't express your opinion. Um, and so anyway, so the thing was, she just starts going, "Oh my God, abortion! God, I can't stand, anybody who has one. It's just this murder." And Dylan, I guess I think he had some connection to like he was talking about how his sister, I think, I hope I don't get this wrong. If I do, edit this out, because I'm trying to reach out to him. Jake says that he hates me, but he just goes off. And he's like, "How dare you call my sister a murderer?" And all this stuff. You as a woman, I don't understand. Blah blah blah. And he just gets up and he runs out the door. And I never saw him again for like 2 or 3 years, or 2 years, I'd say. And then somehow I reach out to him, and he showed up downtown LA, and he agreed to talk to me for an hour about advice, because he was getting really big. He opened for David Sedaris on a tour and stuff like that, and
Oh,
um, and he gave me a letter that I have a feeling it's probably something he gives to lots of people when they ask advice, because it had that kind of way too polished tone. But it's a letter I still have to this day, all about how to succeed in storytelling and set a standard for yourself, be undeniably good, etc. And so I thought we were fine, but Jake says, I don't. I said, we should reach some people that we pissed off. And Jake was like, "Dylan Brody," and I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Oh, he hates you. He hates you like he wants you dead." And I was like, "Oh my God!" And I haven't had the guts to reach out to him yet. I'm going to do it today probably, but that was like the one time we ever had somebody. Oh no, there was one other time. Cause effect. I was interviewing Kevin Costner at a hotel for my one-on-one show, and I leave it to David Robinson to man the show. And all I know is I turned my phone off for an hour so I could go interview Costner, or I had it in record mode, wasn't paying attention. I get off the interview, and I have all these outraged messages from two guys, Lawrence Myers and Howie Wallfish, and they're both Jewish guys that are conservative, and David's a liberal, and he's Jewish, and these guys are nuts. Like some Jews are like, if look at the equivalent of what that woman was about abortion. If you say
Yeah.
anything about Israel, like being in the wrong or needing to compromise with the Arabs, some people will go, you hate yourself. You hate your religion, your identity. How dare you? I mean, they literally, I've seen this happen to other people too, but they did it to him. And they
Mhm.
flipped out because he said something about, well, I think Israel should go to the bargaining table or something like that. So I listened to the tape later. It was something totally reasonable. These two guys flip out and they both stormed out and they never did the show again. And one of them is such an asshole that he kept bugging me. Like I tried to stay friends, but he kept bugging me about, I can't believe it. David Robinson said this week and this week and this week. And finally, I just cut him off. And then the other guy I'm still friends with, I'm going to reach out to him because I think I want to have some stories of fights. So I think that because they happened and they were hilarious to me. So that's another one. But anyway,
Yeah.
so about you from now on, all about you. So how did you find us, or how did we find you? I forget.
I think actually, yeah, uh, the guy I used to do the podcast with, Dean. He, he, we were looking for like podcast networks, and I think, yeah, we had found it online somehow. It was either that or he had seen Jake at an open mic that, because because we were also roommates at the time. We also like would go to open mics. It was just happened to be one of the ones that he went to while I was, working at the Cheesecake Factory at the time. So I think he went without me. So he either met Jake in person, or he happened to run across something of yours online at the time, and so that's how we got involved.
Okay.
And then we came down and we looked at the space, and yeah, we started. I think we started doing it the the next week. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think you guys have been running for like a month or so
Okay.
before we jumped in.
Okay, so everybody loved the downtown one because that was a spectacular office, but this first one, the building had weird tenants, as we mentioned. There was also an illegal gambling den on the third floor. We were on the second floor.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and then there was also, that was another thing we used against the management when they were threatening Jake. And then in the basement there was some sort of drug operation, or maybe like, I don't recall that it was just for doing heroin. I think we knew that people were like a gang had taken over and was dealing drugs from the basement. And so anyway, it was just a crazy place. But not to mention our view was the worst view ever. We literally were, the window looked out on a roof with a bunch of random junk and tools on it, and then a wall. And so, anyway, just any thoughts about the space, or was it okay?
Oh, what the I mean the thing, yeah, the space. Um, there was what there was at like maybe the second or third week after we had actually started doing the podcast. There was at one point the railing for the steps had been torn off and was off for a couple of weeks. There was a lot of crazy stuff there. I mean, as I mentioned already, there was the the brown tar heroin smell in the hall
Yeah,
in the main
yeah.
stairway. There were a couple times where while we were waiting outside, because sometimes the door was locked, not all the time, but sometimes it was locked. That yeah, there would be you know there'd be like homeless people like trying to get in. So obviously, yeah, that's why we knew something was going on, but we thought like when Jake told us it was like there was some sort of free clinic or methadone clinic thing going on there. That's what we thought it was. But I mean, yeah, it could have just been, you know, someone running, uh, some sort of other opium den out of
Yeah.
some sort of thing going on there. I mean, Hollywood, you know, like I'm not really surprised. I lived in like Hollywood and
Yeah.
Koreatown at
Okay.
different points. So it's like you know, it's nothing to that.
Yeah. You just froze up. Can you hear me? Uh, okay. Good. Okay. So what did you try to do with the cat show? Because you had kind of a eclectic approach. It wasn't really guest driven, although when you went solo downtown, I tried to get you some guests. I think one time, the one cool one I got you for sure was the guy who runs the famous cat house. Uh, uh, uh,
Well,
beside,
see, well, actually, that one, I think actually that fell through,
oh, I'm
because
sorry.
no, it's fine. I think I actually, until recently, I had the book from that. There was like the book
Yeah,
that he had put out.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause what happened was, I think, yeah, I was supposed to get him initially, and then I don't remember what happened, and then you were going to give me one of his, one of his cats, and Air Force Amy, I believe was her name, and then
Oh, yeah,
she ended up like not doing it. So that wasn't a big deal. I think actually for me personally, the coolest interviews that I got to do, were the ones with Cartoon Network. Like
oh, yeah.
I got to interview the cast of Black Dynamite,
Oh,
which
cool.
was
Okay.
Michael Jai White,
Yeah.
and a few up. And there was like it was like a panel interview essentially. That one was
Okay.
a lot of fun to do.
Good.
Yeah, then also I can't remember what the other show was, Mr. Pickles, which was like I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like this insane show where the dog is really like some sort of like demon, but it's like an Adult Swim cartoon, so it's uber violent, but
Yeah.
it's like it's funny and absurd.
Okay. So anyway,
Yeah.
but what was the style of the show you were going for? Like what you and your
Oh,
friend did?
well, oh well, initially when it was me and him, because we had started doing our podcast on our own, so we had all the audio equipment. So what we were doing, even when we came over to you guys in Hollywood, and I don't think he made it to, I don't think, I don't think he made it over to the block. But what we were doing was, we were doing like fake ads. We tried to like theme them per the episode. So like we had one episode where all the commercials that we had put on there, and I don't know if you have this in your archive, but it was like one of the ads were all like these products that were actually like um, serial killer themed. And then we had like other ones where we had another one where we did a bunch of like we recreated famous speeches, but we made them about like McDonald's and In and Out instead of like what the speech was
Yeah,
initially about.
that's funny.
So yeah, like what we tried to do was, because we were both fans of SNL and all that. We tried to like throw in some sketches and some other stuff, and we like the idea of cat show because cats are big on the internet and it's an internet show. We were
Oh
kind
yeah.
of just like
Oh, that's funny. I didn't think of that. Okay. I forgot.
we were kind of like pooling all of our like our interests or whatever happened to catch us at the time, and also
Yeah.
we would also do an interview too, if we could get someone.
Okay. So do you have any favorite guests that you were around for, either like hanging out or when you were working sound for us? Is there anybody that stands out as, oh my God, that was pretty cool, we got this person?
Um. Oh shoot. There were so many people. Well, for me, because I wasn't really, because like you would do your show, pajama party and stuff at night, so
Yeah.
I didn't really get to see a lot of the really cool guests. But like other ones, the ones that I did were the two shows that I remember doing the most were both like one was a self help, and then there was also I did the dog training show with Tanya
Oh,
for a while.
okay, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I did those two shows, and I also helped. Oh man, I can't even remember. There was that improv show.
Future Nuts,
Yeah,
right?
Future Nuts. I also did Future Nuts, and
Okay.
I know I can't even. It's terrible that I'm just off the top of my head. Rena Hundred, and then there
Oh
was
yeah.
the other Jake.
Jake Friday and Kevin Corcoran.
Yeah, yeah. And I haven't I know that Kevin's like gotten married and
Yeah.
had a kid, but I haven't seen him in a long time. And same thing with like Jake Belcher. I think most recently when I was still doing my open mic, I saw Arena a few times, but yeah, I haven't like seen anybody from from Radio Titans in a while,
Yeah,
and I don't.
Rena. Rena, I'm trying to find. I'm not sure if she will come through. This is for off air. I'm just saying for myself. We somehow I got the idea to work with her. I forget why. On actually, I should say her to her credit before I knock her. She had a show that she did like 4 episodes only of. That was might be the best talk show, I think, or that's all we had were talk shows, but I think it might be the best show we ever had or had the potential to be. She somehow was able to call in some like a major guest, maybe two every time. 4 weeks we did this, and it was called Love It or Hate It or Love It or Leave It or something.
Mm,
And it was meant to be about an issue. And she did a, I couldn't believe, because I just thought she was this goofy chick, and she did this unbelievably in-depth research. It was like NPR level, like leading a discussion about controversial subjects in a really uh, incredibly detailed way. And the thing was, we once had, I forget why, but two people blew up at each other so bad. This is what killed it. It was only a 4 episode show, but they were in my apartment and they started screaming at each other so much that the manager came and was like, this has always been kind of illegal that we allow you to run a business out of your apartment, but he says this has to end today. I mean, this thing, you got to tell them shut up, or you're done with everything. And I was like, oh my god! And so we all just everybody just stormed out, and I didn't deal with Rena again on podcasting, but then somehow I had an awesome opportunity in 2017 to come up with some TV concepts for there's a Catholic production company that had always done religious things, but they would host a monthly networking thing for Catholics in Hollywood, like a big dinner, and then you would have a talent show or a speech by. And so every year they would let me bring in 5 or 6 comics, and we'd put on a show, and we get paid for it, and it was awesome because they had a real theater in their building. And anyway, they said, "Hey, we want to start doing something that's non-religious, but it needs to be family entertainment." And so we want to do a clean stand-up show that we could sell, to Netflix or something. Like they had the clout to get it. If we got it done right, they had the clout to make the sale. And so I was working on a stand-up show, and I was working on like 2 different stand-up show ideas, and then what we hoped would be like a new form of Last Comic Standing. I came up with this insane competition. And for some reason I worked on it with Rena, and we brainstormed, and her ideas were brilliant. And we hatched the whole thing. We put together the treatments, and then I think that it's Kevin, who used to date her. He thinks that she just has some sort of self-destructive mode career-wise, because she could be so good and so big if she wanted to be. Like, she works at the Improv, or did for years, and was always a bus girl. And it's like, why would you be the bus girl and not be a waitress, and really have a shot at making some money? But that's all she did. It's what I do. Don't talk about it. I'm like, okay. So we had 3 different times we were supposed to meet with the producer of this company and make our final proposal. And I don't know what to believe, but she claimed one time, for instance, that she was waiting for me. We were supposed to meet at a Ralph's dining thing at Ralph's on Sunset, and in their dining area, and the meeting was a block away. I'm coming over my Uber, and this is like the second time or third time we were supposed to meet. And the guy said, strike 3 and you're out. If she doesn't do this, you got to drop her. And I'm on my way over, and she claimed, oh my God, I got food poisoning. I got to go. I can't do it. Sorry, we'll have to reschedule. And I was like, there is no reschedule. And she's like, I'm sick. And I get to the Ralph's, and there was this weird table. There was a table that had a mess on it, like paper, whatever junk. And I said, hey, was there a woman who looked like this? And I showed her a picture, and they said, yeah, she was here. She just ran out. And so I don't know what happened, if she really was sick or what, but I was so pissed at her for blowing it that the guy wound up working with me, but we had to redo a lot of the concept to take away any idea that was hers, so she couldn't sue us later, because she had insisted that I register everything with the Writers Guild before these meetings, and then she bails on the meetings. So she could have sued me if these shows had sold, because her name was on the protection, you know what I mean? And so anyway, I haven't talked to her since, but I've reached out, and so far I haven't got a response. I don't have her number anymore. I deleted it. So it's kind of a weird thing. But Kevin thinks she's just self-sabotaging.
Yeah, she, I mean, yeah, I can't really speak to any of that personally, because I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I mean, that's not a surprise. There's like a lot of people in LA and people in general who have like stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let me think what else. What do you think? Okay, so I don't want this to be like glorify Carl, this project, by any means, but like, I'm inviting the people that I pissed off to really say why they were pissed and stuff. But the one thing that this photographer named John Eder, that Jake knew, Bowman, he filmed everybody, or took shots of everybody one time, professional quality, awesome shots. I'm not sure if you were involved, but you probably were, because I think everybody who had a show was, especially people who worked sound and stuff like that. The point was to have a good gallery of photos, and the guy he deleted them, or his computer crashed, so he doesn't have them anymore. I'm praying that they're on the hard drives that I sent Johnny, but I don't know how to interpret the hard drives. And anyway, point being that when I interviewed the guy, he said, listen, I don't think this is just a comedy story. He said that he considered what we did was revolutionary, and he meant it in the literal and figurative sense. He said that because I don't know if you knew or remember, but downtown I had a group of Black lesbian feminists named Snatch Power handling PR for a while, and they had their own show. And
you actually still follow most of them on some sort of platform. So
well, I'm trying to reach them. Clive disappeared. That's a weird story. And then he wrote me out of the blue 2 days ago and said he'd call me yesterday, and he never did. So I'm hoping he's not going to flake. But he's the key for me to reach out and catch Snatch Power. And I want Snatch Power because they have dozens of insane topless photos on a Facebook page of Titans that I never knew existed till I moved home last year. And that's how this whole project started. Was I was already depressed, thinking, well, I better hide everything I've ever done if I want a serious job, which is bullshit. I'm finding big fish, small pond syndrome. 3 weeks ago is when I finally snapped out of that and decided to embrace everything. And I got hired a week later by Walmart because I put on my resume, I added interviewed hundreds of celebrities, including Kevin Costner. And the manager calls me and I sit down and he goes, "Tell me about Kevin Costner." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, the reason I called you in here is anybody who met Kevin Costner, I want to meet." And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, tell me." So I'll tell him. Then he's like, "Wow, you had hundreds of celebrities?" I was like, "Yeah." It just was what I do. I'm not trying to brag. And he was like, "That's the most interesting person I've ever had come in here." And so he goes, "All right, you got a job. You just got to tell me stories." I'm like, "Okay." And so anyway, um, sorry, I'm really bad today with
So
looking
what
all
did
over
you
the
get
place.
hired on? What did you get hired at Walmart
Oh
for?
yeah, here's the funny thing. Okay, so Johnny thinks this is awesome. I got hired to be front of the store bullpen, like help customers with the self checkout lane. And the reason why is the guy said, "Well, if you've done tons of interviews, then you must have people skills and you can deal with people." So he hired me for that. And then, um, and
You got
then,
diagnosed with Asperger's.
and we'll get this. And so then I was kicking ass so much with the first day of that. I was because the thing is, like, I for 17, like I analyzed this with my old boss the other night. I For 17 years I worked at a paper where I only dealt with 10 people, the same 10 people for 17 years, which is an insane time to really long time to be somewhere. And then, but I like performing and I know improv. I graduated Second City. I worked for Second City for a while, and so suddenly I come home. I'm sitting on my ass all year, just doing a virtual job on the campaign thing, and I hang out with. I have like one good friend that I see every week, and otherwise I'm stuck with my folks, sitting around the house, going crazy. And suddenly I get a job where I'm like being told, "Okay, be friendly to customers." And so the thing is, I'm putting on. I look at maybe I'll burn out on it and not keep going, but I think I will because I'm getting such a great response. I'm looking at it like I'm putting on a show, and so I'm like, "Right over here, step right up, this one here and this register, this one, and people
Yeah.
are just like, "Wow, okay," they're all laughing and whatever. And then so after one day of doing that, the best job you can do in the store is cashier. And because it's trust level and customer interaction, whatever. They trained me on cashier day 2, and I picked that up perfectly within an hour. And every customer, I'm like, "And your grand total is," and I'm acting like I'm announcing a game show. And I thought, I'm gonna get in trouble for this or something. But the manager comes over before my lunch break and he says, "Yeah, let me talk to you a second." I'm like, "Oh shit!" And then he goes, "No, no, no." He goes, "We've had so many compliments. Everybody says they've never seen a cashier like you before, and they're all laughing because there's a wheel at Walmart. You bag everything into, and then it goes. It's all on a wheel, and at the end
Mm.
you're supposed to spin it around so customers see their bags." And I go, "And the wheel of food," and I spin it like the wheel of fortune, and it doesn't hurt anything, thankfully, but everybody's just laughing, And so anyway, so I'm having a blast, and Johnny's like, "Oh, I wish I could see this, man. I wish I could see this. I bet you're the best cashier ever." I'm like, "Yeah, it's fun." But
That's good.
yeah, but now I want to watch Superstore. I've only seen a couple episodes. I never gave it a chance because I thought it was a ripoff of The Office because it has that style. But now that I'm working here and I'm seeing all this crazy stuff, because one thing that's held me back in stand up is also that all I ever did, 90% of what I did was making fun of myself, which is, I'm certain I've come to realize that's not good either. I mean, I've come to embrace it to some extent because I got really down on myself when I moved home for a while. I was like, oh my God, why did I do that? All I ever did was rip myself. Now employers are going to see this. But the thing is, I got into Gary Shandling the past year, and all he did was self-deprecating humor. So I'm like, well, he did it. I'm not saying I'm as good as him, but there's nothing wrong with it. But the thing is, I very rarely had broader humor. And so now,
right, because you just want to do it to kind of build like context for your character in the story, like it's not supposed to be like the meat of the story.
Yeah. Well, so now what I'm doing is I'm looking at this. I'm writing furiously the last couple nights after I worked, and because I'm finally back in the '90s, I wrote all sorts of stuff when I started out in Chicago, but I'm finally getting funny ideas about food and customers and people of Walmart. I have to be careful that I don't get myself fired or in trouble if I use it, but at least I'm writing jokes and I'm having a blast, like laughing about it, because I mean, it's also because what I'm learning is my mom never let us have junk cereal when we were kids. And it's just amazing to see all the variations of tricks and Lucky Charms. And I'm just like, this is just instant diabetes. How the hell do we allow this to happen to kids? And then I'm like looking at, people roll up in their cart, their wheel cart. It's very few of them, but some. And and then you're looking at these fat asses people that, and then there, and I always felt sympathy in the past for people like that. But then, when they pull up and there's like 15 bags of potato chips, it's like, oh, fuck this person. But I mean, I'm having fun with them. I don't say that obviously, but like one couple, they just had one snack after another, pistachios, peanuts, chips, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this is the world's greatest party. And they were like, no, it's just our lives. I'm like, no, your life is the world's greatest party. Embrace it. And and I'm just like, and I'm saying like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. Can I come over afterwards? Pistachios, and stuff like that I'm doing to people,
Yeah. That's
but
good.
it's like, why be a jerk and just stand there going, hi, how are you? Okay, But the thing that sucks is Walmart's eliminating cashiers um, by the end of June, and it doesn't even make any sense. It's weird. You would think they're doing it to cut costs, but they at least are claiming, and it's in writing, that they are not going to fire anybody there, that they have other ways to put people to work. But I'm telling you, they keep that up. Kroger, which is basically Ralph's, they're affiliated, they're going to get all the business because people already are bitching, saying they hate the fact that there won't be any human interaction. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know how. I mean, yeah, like you said, like the bulk, even if they get rid of cash registers, they're still going to have people watching over because, I mean, you can't really trust all of the. I mean, unfortunately, you can't trust the people who go and shop at Walmart
Yeah.
to mess up during an order, especially if it's like, or with all their merchandise, especially if it's a big a big basket full of stuff. People can't even get through a handful of things without needing assistance. So like,
Yeah. Well, I wanted to still get. I'm sorry, I went on that tangent. Do you have any thoughts about, did this mean anything beyond being funny? Like, do you think we accomplished something socially, politically, whatever, by having this mix of people?
I mean,
And it's fine if you don't think so.
I think, well, I mean, I thought I liked it because you did have like you had bands on there and you had a lot of different people coming from different fields and stuff. So it was a interesting way to. It was definitely a cool way to meet people. And yeah, I mean, like I mean, I don't think I've seen anybody in person in a long time, but I still I follow him on social media and stuff
Yeah.
like Edgar and
Yeah, I'm trying to find him. I can't find him, and then and Clive. Those are the two that I'm still
well,
trying
I
to get.
think, yeah, I don't know about Clive. I don't know anything like, yeah, I had him on like Facebook, but for whatever reason, I don't have him on Instagram. And so I haven't, or maybe I did at one point, I don't know, but yeah, I haven't seen or heard anything from him. If you're looking for Edgar, at least on Instagram, I think he goes by the Real South Central. Uh,
Okay.
he's posted. I think he has some sort of EP or something coming out this year.
Then he needs promotion. He better talk to me. Yeah.
Um. So. Yeah. But yeah, like if you look at his Instagram, if you find his Instagram, yeah, he's always like in his story and different posts. He's always doing. He's like always playing music. So
Okay.
he's still doing what he set out to do.
Good.
Um. And yeah, and I'm trying to think.
Are
Yeah,
you
like
still involved in comedy or not?
yeah, I am. I Yeah, I still do stand up. And yeah, I started working on some like script ideas for myself.
Good.
So yeah, I have some things in the works. But yeah, like yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I definitely haven't given up. And but I do live in Long Beach now.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
got yeah.
do you know Felice G?
That sounds
She
familiar,
runs
but
an incredible show at an awesome place, or she did before COVID. I'm friends with her. I can hook you up if you don't know her. She ran a show at the Federal Bar, which is a former bank, and her show is downstairs in the former vault. It's
oh, that's
incredible.
cool.
And so if you want, I'll hook you up with her.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I did it like I don't know. I only got into it like the last few months before I moved. Because what was weird was right before I had my crash, um, October and November were incredible for me doing stand up in 2019. I was booked on different shows, like I think eight straight Saturdays, and me and my I have a Catholic Laughs comedy business that I started in 2017, and we were being flown to Dallas to do a show and all this, and I did her show, and I had such a good time that even though it was a bitch for me to get down to Long Beach on the Blue Line, I
Mhm.
kept hanging out there just watching the shows after I did mine, and so anyway, yeah, she's great. You would love it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So yeah, I moved. Yeah, like yeah, when I got married.
Yeah, what's up with that?
So, well, I found someone that I love,
Good.
and we were good for each other. But yeah, we moved down here to Long Beach because she's a tattoo artist and she got a job down here.
To get free
So
tattoos, that's why you married her.
I mean, that is a fringe benefit for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
That's
How many do you
um,
have now?
um, I have a handful. I've got Bugs Bunny here,
Oh, that's
uh,
cool. Oh,
and
Bunny,
then
of
I've got
course.
yeah, I've got a few. But
Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, I actually like Long Beach better than LA. I
I do
mean,
too.
it's a lot more. It's a lot more. It's I feel like you're seeing more normal Californians as opposed to like everybody who's in the industry, like giving you the fake smile.
Well, the
So
restaurant district is awesome. I love that. That's my favorite part
oh
of
yeah,
the LA area.
oh downtown,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool.
And
And
the Terrace Theater, I saw David Sedaris there, and I saw Louis C.K. there, and that's a great theater. Richard Pryor shot his first concert film there. I've amazingly never watched Richard Pryor till the past year. I went on a kick for a while, and I'm getting back into it. Where I became a student of comedy, there was a lot of stuff that it's crazy for a guy that loves comedy so much and ran a podcasting business centered on comedy. I almost never watched. I've almost never listened to podcasts of other people to this day. I'm really bad about it. It's crazy. I mean, if I had known more about the market, I probably would have made this work better. But now, I'm not constantly on the run, mentally, trying to be manic. Belcher and Bowman are giving me lists of podcasts to get familiar with because I do want to make this work again. Like, one thing we're thinking of doing is, once the site gets, we're going to figure out a way to market the hell out of the site once it is ready with all those shows. One second. Yes. Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
So, so what were you saying? Start over. I apologize. About, did you see any meaning to it or not?
Well, I think, I mean, definitely. I liked that, there was just a lot of different people from different like walks of life and different like career aspirations kind of all out there, like under one roof. So it gave me an opportunity to meet a lot of people. I think, well, see, I think really kind of it just proves, culturally maybe, is that there's like a niche for everybody, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, I mean, in general, for a long time now, things have been moving away from like the old system, for better and worse. I mean, sometimes it's better because it's not censored. You can kind of do whatever you want, so it's better for creativity. But also sometimes, because there isn't any sort of gatekeeper, you get sometimes you get trash. So I don't know. I think it's just, podcasting and all that is just like it's like a sign of the times. Like things are changing, platforms and the way people consume media is it's going to continue to change, for sure.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, there's, uh, like I listen to some of the podcasts that they do. I got Audible because right now I don't work at a cheesecake factory anymore.
Yeah.
I work as a merchandiser, so sometimes I go to Walmart's and other places and I throw beer into the coolers, at these places. So I'm a merchandiser.
Yeah.
So, or I work for a vendor, and so like a lot of times I'll listen more often than not. I'm listening to books, but sometimes I'll listen to podcasts or some music as well. But I think it's I like podcasts better because it's a way for people to get like information, in an entertaining way, um, which is kind of important because sometimes people will kind of like tune out, um, like the news or whatever. So if you get someone, you get some people who have, the gift of gab and they're presenting information. It's kind of, it's a better way for people to receive their information, assuming they're not just like blowhards. But yeah, I think podcasting, and that is, I think it is important for those reasons, because it gives people, not only the information, but also it gives them access to other people's perspective on things.
Yeah.
So they know that like they're like whatever small town or even like big city sort of like bubble they live in, that there's people outside of that area that see things different. And I think that stuff is important.
Okay, cool. Yeah, what I was going to say, and then I got to go, is we're going to blow up the website, promote it somehow, see if anything comes of the archives. And then um, the other thing is that me, Jake, and Brant lives in Vegas, Jake's in Atlanta, I'm here. But if I could catch a break and have this take off, I would go back to LA. And then Bowman's in North Carolina, and somebody else is somewhere else. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're almost definitely going to do Grand Theft Audio or try it from the three cities, because Skype you can now do it, or Zoom you can do multiple people all over.
Mhm.
So we're almost definitely going to do that, because I still know how to get stars. I'm launching a new video cast for the first time in 3 years, and I'm getting some pretty amazing people. And then the longer shot, but we were talking about it at least, is setting up radio. Johnny had the idea of, we could set up Radio Titans in each city that one of the principals lived in, and open the studio in each city, and have it be multiple cities doing shows. And so that's a possibility also. So anyway, if we do it in LA, I can let you know if you maybe want to be part of it, if we have actual money behind it going forward. What's crazy is that me and Jake knew a millionaire that loved what we did. This guy was a big conservative, and he knew that we both were on that side of the fence and talked that way on Grand Theft Audio, and he was like, "Oh my God, somebody who's conservative and funny and young," and he was going to throw us this. He lined up a sponsor for us, a big vodka company, but we never got to know about it, because there was an intermediary that lied to him and told him that we weren't interested, and took the sponsorship for himself. And so now that me and Jake are back in touch, Jake learned about this while we weren't. And so we're preparing a proposal to hit that guy up. And
Hmm.
so this could become reality if this guy still wants to help us. So anyway, just letting you know.
All right. Well, yeah, yeah. Keep in touch, because I've been considering getting back into podcasting as well. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so yeah. I
All
mean,
right. Well, hey, I got to go for now. Something I got to help my folks with. So
for sure.
yeah, but thanks. And I'll send you the full video of this just so you have it for fun. Um, it's probably easy to do. I just haven't done it yet with anybody. I just learned Zoom 2 days ago. So
Hmm.
anyway, I'll do my best to get it to you. And that's that for now.
All right.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Oh, do you have any photos that you can sort through from anything Titans that's any fun or good or guess? Please look and send me some on Facebook or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. I'll definitely. Yeah. I'll look through my Facebook. I'm sure there's something there for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the last thing. I'm sorry. This is really. We found Zalim had video. Apparently, I forgot, but we did a multi-camera shoot of that first pool party at the Gaylord, and we have the singers are willing to talk. I don't remember who the comics were. Maybe Maria Shahada was one of them. Also, I'm not sure, but I remember
I
you
think
were,
so.
and I
Yeah.
know it wasn't a great experience for comics because it was dark already. People were exhausted, and there was such a distance between the comics and the audience. So I
Yeah.
know you may not have the best memory about it as far as was it fun for you or the other comics, but just wondering, could if you remember the music part at all, or just in general the vibe of that party, we need to get some comments about that. Do you have anything you can remember from the big party?
Yeah. I mean, like, the 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 food and like the company was good. The yeah. The as far as being set up for comedy, I just yeah. I think that even like because the pool was there, the way the stage and the
Yeah,
seating should have been set up, probably just should have been set up different, so it
yeah,
was a
yeah,
little
yeah.
more of an intimate experience, because there was a lot of people there, but there wasn't enough people there to where they couldn't have set it up, they couldn't have set the stage up in a different way
Okay.
that would have made it better, but like you know, it was a cool experience. Like, yeah, the events that were involved with Radio Titans were cool because there was always, you know, like there was always like the people that are involved with the station, and then there was always like other people that, like, you know, you didn't really know, but you know, it, I don't know, there was a lot of fun things that came out of Radio Titans for sure.
Thanks, man. All right. Well, hey, I gotta go for now. Let's stay in touch on Facebook. You know.
All right,
All right.
sounds
See
good.
ya. Okay. Bye.
Yeah.